So it looks like we're going live on Facebook. Lorna, well done. This is Lorna's maiden voyage, and I think we all should give her a huge round of applause. Well done. Anyway, this is our Silver Tent TV, BODY, and I'm going to let Lorna explain the abbreviations and how this panel was birthed.
Thank you, Gwen. Hi, everybody. Live on the show at the moment. So my name is Lorna, and I think I come across as Lorna Rotta on Facebook, but on Zoom here, I'm a champion for change. And that brings us to the topic today, changing bodies. Right? So the topic came about because I'm a member of Silver Synergy, and it's a great place to share where I feel safe. And I had a notion one morning when I was out walking that I don't think I turned 60 in February this year. And I realized that I'm not taking to this aging process maybe as good as I could do, but it also made me realize that it's only the surface that I'm not dealing with very well, like what I see in the mirror, the wrinkles that have appeared. And then when I shared in the group with, and the other women came back, and there was such a big response. I thought, God, this would be a great topic for Silver Tent TV. And then I got the invitation from the lovely Gwen to say, would we co-host a talk about our bodies and how we feel about that and them aging. And she threw some other things into the mix as well for me at that moment, because she started talking about her body, and I was like, oh my God, I hadn't thought of that. I was just looking at this part at that moment in time. I was just looking at the face. And then I was like, oh God, yeah, these saggy arms and crepey arms and, you know, like cellulite and all that sort of jazz. And, you know, we're saturated with consumerism around in the beauty industry. Like it's just multi-billion industry on how we look. So it's just this amazing topic, I think, and that's how it started. So here we are, and I'll pass you over to the other lovely ladies to introduce themselves as well. So I'll just go to Gwen, my co-host.
Okay, thanks, Lorna. I was it just came at the right time for me, because I don't know whether you'd call it the right time or not, but it came at a time when I was really struggling, because they talk about the body being this tremendous vessel. Well, in my experience, it's this tremendous vessel at creating wrinkles when you get to a certain age. It seems to be like every night you wake up the next day and it's wrinkles in places you didn't even know you could have wrinkles. And this year particularly, I lost weight because I was doing I was going on a retreat. So I was doing like I was doing a special diet for the retreat to prepare for it. And I lost weight. As a consequence, I had even more wrinkles. And what I realized was happening was I didn't like them. I was turning away from myself. I started not to wear sleeveless tops during the hot weather. I noticed I was wearing something with a little bit of a sleeve to cover this area of my body. And when I'd lean over, I'd see all these wrinkles, and I was ashamed. I mean, I'm not in love with them at this point, I have to say, but I have moved on a bit. One of the things that really helped me was this year I wrote and performed a one-woman show. And one of the things in the show was about expectations around women, and particularly older women. There are all these expectations that suddenly we become these women who are wise, profound, don't care what people say. We're not people pleasers anymore. We're like paragons of virtue. And we have this deep, meaningful understanding of life, and that these wrinkles reflect the road we've traveled. you know. So there's all this hype about, and I imagine half of it's not even written by older women, particularly stuff around wrinkles. You know, it's just like, are you really a 50 something, well, in my case, a 60 something woman, looking in the mirror and saying that? No, I don't think so. So what I did was I wrote a lot about it, and that actually helped me. And then I performed it and I talked about it. And to actually, it was like therapeutic in a way. As I say, I'm not wild about my wrinkles now, but I certainly have made some peace with them. And I would like to keep them at bay as well. That's enough now. I've got enough wrinkles. You can stop at that. But that's why I was delighted, Lorna, when you put that Facebook post up. I thought this is really a conversation about what is the reality and the truth. I know not all women feel like this. A lot of women actually don't feel self-conscious around their wrinkles and are very accepting of their bodies. But I think there's probably an awful lot of women, older women, who are not happy with the progression of the wrinkly skin. I mean, I said in my one woman show, I was looking less like a human being and more like a Sharpie dog. You know, those dogs that have all those wrinkles. Anyway, so that's my sort of introduction here about me, myself, and my relationship to my wrinkles and to myself. So I'd like to hand that over to actually to Ali or Conchetta to add your experience, please.
Well, I'll go. Hi, everyone. I'm Conchetta. And you sparked a couple of things there that the reason I wanted to join this panel has to do with I am right in the feeling like in the middle of which has been actually probably a lifelong battle with my body. And I think it's been a couple of years, but I threw down the gauntlet and I said, okay, that's enough. We have to figure something out here, because really I felt like I was constantly fighting with the image I had in my head of how I wanted to look and how I had attempted to mold my body, and the body that was going, hey, really? You're going to try and look that way? I just can't contort enough. I cannot pretzel enough. I had this revelation just a couple of weeks ago. I saw someone, a friend of ours, and I looked at her and I went, my mouth dropped. I'm sitting there realizing that that's who I wanted to look like my entire life. Now, they're the body types, and I get them all confused, the ectomorph, the endomorph, and whatever those are. Anyway, I didn't want to look like this body that I have. I wanted her body. And given it wasn't the kind of, I mean, it was just a muscular body. It didn't even look like there was any fat on her body. And I imagined that she was happy as a lark in life and everything was wonderful. And the truth is, no, she isn't. But in my mind, someone asked me, what would you feel like if you had that body? And I said, relief. It would feel as if I had been able to accomplish this modeling, I guess. I feel like a piece of clay. It's like I wanted to model myself into that instead of just being with what my DNA obviously has become. And not so much the wrinkles for me, but it's been more the fact that my underarms, continue to wave when I stop waving. And that's, I tell my trainer, I tell the younger people in my training group, I say, gravity is real. I mean, after a certain point, gravity is real. And for me, when I hit menopause, that, of course, lack of estrogen, thank you. I began to see the differences as I went through my 50s. I could see, and it really has only been a year ago. I finally, you were talking about the image that we have of an older woman, of how she's supposed to be and all of that. So I worked really hard to be this wise woman, and really I should accept all of me, my body, everything. And I finally, a year ago, said to myself, I don't. I want to yes, have better skin. I want this body to be softer. I want all these things. And so I went ahead and let myself. I started doing a skin routine, and I started going and having facials. And more than anything else, that helped me start going, oh, well, I like myself now. And I
Mm.
think it's just going to be an ongoing process. But I'm really glad that we're talking about this. And there's also one thing that I'm still moving through, but the grief, the sense of grief I felt when I'm laughing at it now, but when I saw that woman and realized I can't be her,
Mm.
not really. So it's all a big process, and I'm just really grateful to be here today. And now I'll pass it over to Allie.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Ali. I don't think my name is on my picture today,
is.
but
It
it
is.
doesn't matter. It is. Oh, okay. I can't see it the way I'm looking at it. Yeah, I was so moved with Lorna coming on live on Synergy that day and talking about her wrinkles. And I'd only just discovered a couple of days before, when I had tried putting on some makeup, that I was wrinkly. Because I always think, God knew I was bone idle. So he gave me pretty easy to manage hair and pretty easy to manage body and skin. And I really loved my body when I was doing long distance running, because then you just feel so vibrant and alive. And I've had a couple of hiccups with the leg injuries. So I haven't been able to get out onto the road again and reclaim the body I had 20, 30 years ago. But I also contacted Lorna about it because I have a problem. I've had a problem way of looking at my skin. I don't mind my body as such. It does everything. My skin's really good in that it keeps the rain out and it keeps all my bits inside. And I think that's pretty well organized from whoever created that idea. But I'm covered in lumps and bumps. And as I get older, there's more lumps and more bumps. And I found that I was saying things like, I really hate my skin. My skin's so disgusting. I am tactile defensive. If I peel potatoes, I need to have a bowl of water. Don't like my hands getting all messy and dirty. And by the same token, when I touch my skin, it's not smooth and beautiful. And I sort of look at maybe Conchetta's skin. I mean, not that I'm anywhere close to you, but you look like you've got beautiful brown, soft skin. And I'm like, why don't I have that? And I have found that I've been divorced 23 years now. I have found that I've not wanted to initiate a close relationship, an intimate relationship with anybody over those years, because I don't like the way my skin feels. So how can I give that as an offering to somebody else? I'm cognizant of the fact, though, that perhaps that's just an excuse for me to stay single and not have to deal with a relationship. I tell myself maybe I'm supposed to be single in this lifetime. I was married, had my children, but yeah, there's quite a lot that goes on. But at the end of the day, I'm turning that around, like Conchetta's coming to terms with her stuff, and Lorna and Gwen. And I'm starting to thank my skin for being for doing what it's doing. It heals itself. I cut myself, it heals itself so quickly. So yeah, so that's why I'm on the call, because I said, I don't like my skin. And that was the end of that. I was on the call. So yeah, I'll hand it over to any of you who want to pick up on anything.
Thank you. I'm going to jump in here because I loved all your sharing. Thank you. It was amazing. And I think you said it first, Concerta, that once you accepted, but you didn't like it. for me, I realized when all the, the feedback started coming in on the page and Silver Synergy, and I was like, wow, this is a hot topic. And then we decided we'd do this call. I was like, do you know what? Just by actually voicing it in there and the support and everybody coming back and Ali's private message, and there was another couple of messages as well. And I was like, I actually think I quite like myself now because I've shared it. They say a problem shared's a problem halved. And I was like, now I've actually voiced it out. I don't think I'm so bothered about it anymore. And when we decided to have this call on here today, I was like, yeah, no, I am. I'm in a deeper place of acceptance now that this is it. Because inside me, I actually feel amazing. And I've had plenty issues with like physical pain and stuff. And, I mean, I was in a car crash in my 30s, which rendered me in a wheelchair. And I thought that was me gone at that point. It was like I'd be on medication forevermore. And in the end, I healed myself. And that's when I realized that this innate healing ability that we all have within us, I really do believe as well that there's something in the air about being able to reverse that aging process. I don't know what that looks like just yet, but just like you said there, Ali, you're thanking your skin, thanking your body, talking nice talk to yourself. I think that's just a big part of it. And you said about not having a relationship about that. I laugh because I've got 3 daughters and they say that their arms are the same as mine and they call them larms, like Lorna's arms. So when we set up our little WhatsApp group when the lockdown happened, my youngest daughter put a siblings featuring larms. So because they're all going, oh, we've got your arms, and I'm just like, listen, these arms carried you around on my hip for quite a while, so just be grateful for that. But yeah, and it's like other people's perceptions as well, isn't it? About telling us how we look or how we could look better, or like the media and the magazines, and there's so much out there right now. I feel around our looks, and there's so many young women getting Botox and trying to change their looks instead of natural. I mean, that's entirely their choice, of course. But I always feel sad that why can't we grow older gracefully and be in that acceptance and be happy with what we see when we look in the mirror. Yeah, it's not going to be every day, maybe, but I'm in a committed relationship, and I understand that feeling of not being wanting to be seen. And I don't know if I'm just going to drop Gwen right in it here now, but she sent me some pictures from her Burning Woman, and she gave me this amazing idea, because right now I'm writing my 2nd book. So I'm going to confess all right here in the Silver Tent that from Gwen's encouragement, she doesn't even know this, I just sent her a message going, oh my God, you've just given me an idea. My front cover for my first book, I was going to have, I drew a picture and have my own picture on it. And the publishers were like, no, we think you should have your picture. And I think that's when it first started happening for me about, oh, I didn't want my face on the front cover of a book and all that. And but so now I've decided the 2nd book, which is going to be called Born to be 60, I'm going to be naked on the front cover of that book. So,
right.
So I just thought, that's it. I'm just going to So it's all in plan at the moment. That's what, and thanks, Gwen. It was you that gave me that idea. I'm not going to spill the beans too much, but anyway, thank you.
I don't mind sharing it, because it was something, it was quite a revelation to me. What Lorna is referring to is, yes, I went to Burning Women Festival, and I went on a workshop. It was a workshop that I really wanted to go on, but I managed to avoid it. And then I discovered, when I say avoid it, it was on a few times over the weekend. And then I discovered the women running the workshop, her tent was pitched up right beside us. So it was really meant to be, you know, because I was already in close connection with her. So this workshop, a paint workshop, but it was a group of women gathered in a circle, sharing, and this is women of all ages, colours and backgrounds, sharing how they felt about their bodies. And it was really one of the most touching, moving, sharing circles I've ever been in, because I don't know if there was even one woman in that circle who said, I really am accepting of my body. And some of these women had had mastectomies. I mean, 3 in the group had had breast cancer. So, you know, it was varying experiences of their bodies and what their bodies had been through. So the idea was then we all had mirrors, and we turned to the mirror and we took our clothes off and we looked at ourselves and noted how we responded. And I mean, I immediately was like, oh, don't want to look in the mirror. Then we turned around and had complete permission to look at each and every woman, and for every woman to look at me. And that was that was such a gift, because we don't do that. You know, even in the swimming pool or on the beach, whatever, we don't like to look. And there was I in this group, able to look at every woman and allowing them to look at me. And that was a very powerful thing to do. Then what we had to go and do was get these squeezy bottles of paint, and in this space squirt each other with the paint. We howled and squealed. We were covered in paint, top to bottom. And then it was a mainly women's festival. Then we all ran across the field through the main festival area. And I'll tell you now, there were men there, you know, assisting. And I felt so free. I had no problem walking about, and after we'd run back and forwards, I then walked to the shower past men as relaxed and free, and I had no qualms about my wrinkles or being naked. And that was such a big lesson for me, that so much of it is, okay, I was covered in paint, but it wasn't clothes. You could still see my body. But some sort of limiting belief, or, you know, was interrupted. There was some kind of pattern interrupt that allowed me to actually parade my naked body as an older woman. And I know that not everybody wants to do that, but how it made me feel was incredibly empowering. And the realization that so much of this is programming, you know, that you taught there, Lorna, when we live in a youth culture, everything's about anti-aging. You know, it's all about what you can do to look younger. You know, we see it in the celebrity world. You know, women don't get jobs. You know, many of them have to have boob jobs and facelifts and all of this in order to get parts. You know, men don't have to do that. Although, having said that, I know there's a lot of pressure on men nowadays as well, but not to the same degree. A man kind of ages with dignity and sophistication. A woman isn't really allowed to age in the kind of culture that we live in. You know, I saw you nodding your head, Conchetta. What?
Well, I'm first, I just want to applaud your bravery, because I'm having, you know, I'm really watching my own reactions to this and asking myself, my goodness, I can't even walk around my own house naked. It's an interesting thing for me. I don't feel comfortable naked. I mean, I had quite an active sex life, but after hitting menopause, it's been a struggle, and we're talking about relationships and how that, how that affects how we go out and through the world. And you've hit on it, is that I grew up in the South of the United States, and you do not, a good Southern belle does not leave the house without her makeup on or her hair done. And so I go through this thing, and then I moved to Colorado, where everybody is, sportive, and who cares about makeup at all. So it was an interesting contrast. It also depends on where you are, but I still find myself, when I get ready to go out, like, well, how do I look? What do I look like, and who's going to see me out there? And I do think I don't think men, that's not fair. There's probably lots of men who consider it, but I can tell you a lot of men don't. They just go. It doesn't concern them. I want to just take a step back I know we're talking about relationships here, but I wanted to thank you, Allie, for giving me a reality check by reflecting back to me that how I look to you. And that's the other wonderful thing about, you talked about, Lorna, expressing ourselves, is that's a nice reality check for me and I had a moment of going, oh yeah, well, she's right. I do. I have Italian skin. So that part of this I can blame on my genes. But thank you is what I wanted to say, is that you turned the mirror around and said, hey, well, you got some good things going for you there, girl. So I wanted to say I appreciate that. So that's why I was nodding my head, is that it's fascinating for me to look at myself and think, I'm in France and there's lots of nudist beaches, but and you're right, I do look. And we put on our sunglasses, and when we go to the nudist beach, I may not get nude, but I'm looking, and I am. And part of that is, I think it's also a way of me normalizing, kind of normalizing and realizing, okay, I can look at myself in the mirror and go, oh, well, look at that, and look at that, that's sagging, and there's that, and oh, don't I? But when you look around, I can see that there are other bodies that they're okay. They're okay out there being who they are. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It just, sometimes it feels like it takes, well, it does. It always takes, for me anyway, inches and inches to kind of sink in and go, yeah, I do not want to spend the rest of the time I have on earth in battle with myself.
Yeah.
It's tiring.
Yeah.
It is.
Really.
And almost pointless, because you're going to battle with yourself until you come around to saying, this is who I am, this is how I look, and I'm an enormously magnificent creature. And so the actual physical flesh stuff is actually unimportant, because it's what we're bringing out from inside us that's actually what some of the world judges. Some of the world judges us are now physical, but a lot of people appreciate the wisdom that we bring, the joy that we bring, the different perspectives and different opinions. It's like I think when we get into the body stuff, we're limiting ourselves to one or two little facets of who we really are. And we're actually magical creatures. Don't battle with yourself is my advice, because, I'm all knowing.
So, Ali, we've talked here about, and I'm directing this at you because you brought it up in your first conversation. So we're talking a lot about our relationship with ourselves here. Do you feel that how we view our body affects our relationships with other people? And you touched on it earlier.
Yeah. After I left my husband, I was happily single for a long time. and I was fit. I was running half marathons. I looked okay, you know, body wise, and that didn't have any hassle. And generally, I don't have a hassle with my physical body. It's overweight. And so, you know what, one of these days that'll change, but I'm in no hurry right now. I had a boob job done, just purely not for the body. I had very big breasts, and I did have plastic surgery because when you're a runner and you're going out for the first kilometer or mile, I had to hold on to my boobs because they bounced so much. It was painful. And then the endorphins kick in, and then you don't care. And that was really good. And yeah, and I've also had upper eyelid surgery done, but that was because I needed, oops, have I disappeared? Oh, I thought I disappeared off my phone for a moment. The eyelid surgery, sorry for that interruption. I interrupted myself there. That was cosmetic, not cosmetic as much as it was practical, because the drooping eyelids were stopping my peripheral vision to some degree, and that didn't appeal to me at all. And yeah, so it was fine. When I got divorced, I was fine. I was happy, single. I dated a couple of blokes, but didn't really have anything much in the way of a relationship with them. But as these moles and lumps and bumps and senile keratoses, solar keratoses, as they multiplied, I got defensive about it. It's like, how can I present this to somebody when I'm not loving it? Yeah, it is interesting. It's definitely held me back. But it could be just one of the reasons I've held back from the relationship. That's, you know, that's fair enough.
Thank
So
you.
yeah.
I was also going to add if anybody's watching on the live in the Facebook group, do comment, you know, what is your relationship to yourself and how do you feel about your aging body? Or like Ali has just said, you know, how you feel about it influence? Or please ask us a question. We've got the wonderful Steffi keeping an eye on the comments, so we'll be able to see if you have any questions, she'll relate them to us. So Lorna, I would just carry on to you, because you said that you are in a committed relationship, and I'm not just talking about relationship to others as in partners, but also to how does it affect other relationships outside of that? But it would be interesting to hear from you.
Well, when I said about the alarms, I mean, my relationship with my partner, this is what I call a conscious relationship. And, you know, before I told him I was coming on to host this call and what it was about, and somebody mentioned men, and he said, I think it was you, Concerta, you said about men, the more dignified they age, he's better, or they don't seem to get so much grief. But he says, maybe so, he said, but they're inside, they're not mature. He says, and they're certainly not as wise as women. And I thought, oh, a nice compliment. The other thing, I remember, you know, so I'm a 60s child, and as a teenager, you know, there was a lot of that Miss World stuff going on. And
oh yes,
so it was like being in competition with other women even then as well, yes. Like in relation to others. It was, oh, she's prettier than I am, or what, you know, oh, look at so and so, she's so bonny, as we say here in Scotland, she's so bonny, and immediately the head starts going that I'm not bonny. And I remember we used to have these queen dances, and you know, you'd get a sash at the end of it, and sometimes you could go on to be Miss Scotland or Miss World, and I used to hate it. I thought, what a load of bloody nonsense. It's like a cattle market for people to leer at you and stare at you. And then but underneath it, secretly I wanted to get that queen and be that queen. And I remember the judges coming up to me one time at a dance, and they handed you a ticket. And I was like, no, I'm not wanting it. I do not want it. I'm not taking it. And I remember my aunt giving me a row afterwards going, you were going to get the Queen. I know you were going to get the Queen. Why didn't you take the ticket? And it was just like, I was terrified. I was just like, I did not want to be on the stage in front of all these people because she's far prettier than me and she should get the ticket. And, you know, that sort of stuff. And I think in comparing,
Yeah.
it's that comparison, isn't it? Comparing yourself with other women as well. And that's towards the other. I mean, I'm quite happy in my relationship. I walk about naked in front of my partner. We don't tend to do that just now because we run an Airbnb, so we don't walk about naked. But that would be a bit shocking.
With
A bit of a fright if they saw me walking about there. But you know, I've got a lot of scars and things, and I had like 2 C-sections, and now I'm learning to love my belly. It's like I don't care, and I sit rubbing it at night going, I love my belly, you know. I just love it. And my daughters are probably horrified if they saw me doing that. It's in relationship to others, I'm not so bothered about that from like a point of view of needing to be attractive to the opposite sex, for instance. But I still probably, like you were saying, Concerta, I still maybe compare myself to wanting to look like another woman rather than be happy with my own body and my own figure, whatever that looks like. I'm not very, I don't know if you saw the movie with, I can't remember what it was called, with Emma Thompson. I just love her. And she was with the young guy in that movie. I can't remember what it's called.
yeah.
And then at the end, she stood naked in the mirror. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. Fair play to her. That blew my mind. I thought she just did amazing in that. And I believe there was a lot of talks about that. So it's another reason to go naked.
That's really interesting you bring that film up. You know, I wasn't able to watch it. I wasn't.
You weren't, like, you were watching it, but you weren't able to watch it. Or...
Yeah, I started watching it and I thought, is this whole film going to be in this hotel room?
I have to say, I fast forwarded a few bits of it.
But it was her awkwardness that really touched her, you know, how vulnerable she portrayed herself, that really touched my vulnerability, and I couldn't watch it.
Yeah, I get that. I do get that. I picked up on that myself. So
it reminds me of, it isn't like you were saying, Ali, it isn't just, it's our bodies are only one aspect, because that was clear in that movie what came through. It wasn't just the physical. And I remember I watched that with my husband, and we were both touched in that way, and it wasn't so much the physicality. And it just, when I think about my relationship, again, the lack of libido after menopause, and I had been working. When I say working, I have been doing my best to find all kinds of solutions for it. And it's interesting to look back and feel like regretful. I have a very understanding partner, very understanding. And it's just now that I'm beginning to realize the impact of it. Because like, again, Ali, you're making me think about this. I think part of the reason I kind of used the whole menopause, lack of libido thing to stay at a distance. I mean, we've been able to be intimate in other ways, but because there was the physical issue of dryness, and that comes along with you can call it aging, you can call it menopause, but just the changes that came with that, it was almost as if, I don't want to use aging bodies as an excuse, but I do think that there were moments I could, because the other thing about aging bodies is I find mine is unpredictable. There are so many comedians that cover this, but you can just wake up in the morning and your neck goes or your back goes for no reason. You haven't done anything but wake up and suddenly, what happened?
Yeah.
So it's also that aspect of it that it does affect relationships. It's not just the how I see my body, but we can't do what we used to do. Neither can his body. I mean, talk about pretzels. No, we're not going there. We have to figure out something else, because of what I'm saying is that, and so it does affect the body, the aging body. Really, it does affect relationships, because not just because it doesn't look the way I want it to look, but there's the whole factor of it doesn't bend like it used to, or there's the I even hate to say it, but there's the possibility of an injury, a moment of passion. I mean, anyway. So and it got me thinking about also my relationships to others, is that I know that it's part of my legacy that I need to be up in front of people. I need to be standing up in front of people with a microphone. I've seen it again and again and again. And yet that's also, it's like, oh, well, I need to lose 20 pounds before I can do that. Do you know how long I've been trying to lose 20 pounds? I don't think it's, so it's an aspect of turning that around and looking at myself and going, okay, really? What are you really afraid of? Yeah. So.
Thank you. We've got a message from Ellen. You all know Ellen, don't you? Oh, we've got a question from Francesca as well. But Ellen Curry, her comment is, I won't read it all out, but she had an injury and had to talk lovingly to her body in order for her body to recover. And she says, she tells people how beautiful they are. Our bodies are amazing. And then if we see our beauty, then we see each other and all our beauty. And it's funny because I was looking at all three of you, and to me, you all are so beautiful. You're beautiful women. And I'm not comparing myself, but that comparison thing is very strong in our culture. But I look at you and Lorna, you know, you're vital and vibrant. Conchetta, you look so healthy and well with a beautiful smile. And Ali, you just have a glowing, sort of peachy, warm feel to you. And of course, that's how we see each other. It's just, we don't always see ourselves like that. So Francesca's question is, oh, what is the name of the film with Emma Thompson? She's obviously going to go watch.
Yeah, Google it, Conchetta. I can't remember
it. Leo something.
Leo Grand. Leo Grand. Leo Grand.
Leo Grand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's with the same guy who played Freddie Mercury.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Leo Grand. It's right. Good luck to you, Leo Grand.
Okay, so we've got one from Shakura. One of the areas I really love is my body. Not been to a hairdresser in years, and well, this year due to stress over a lot of grief, it has been falling out in clumps. Cried, then started to accept it and talk to my hair and love my hair, even the clumps that fell out. Now it has stopped falling out. So yes, as Ellen was saying, lovingly, my hair, no matter what, really has helped me so much. So the message there is, it's how we speak to ourselves. How that. Yeah, Ali, would you like to say something to that?
Oh, yeah. I'd said to Lorna as well, one of the things I do every day with my granddaughters, we pull out a divination card, and I've got a pack from South Africa called The Healing of the Birds. And I'd pulled out the penguin just about the time of the wrinkle situation from Lorna. And it was talking about loathing and loving your body, because the penguin's really graceful underwater, but it's a bit clunky on land. And wouldn't say that the penguin loathes its body, but the message to me was, you've got a choice. You can loathe your skin, or you can be really grateful and loving towards it. And I know people can cure themselves of cancer and all manner of ills. So technically, I could heal my skin. I don't think it's going to happen because I've got a few limiting beliefs around it. I know I'm not that dedicated. But you know, if just beginning to love it a little bit helps me to see myself in a different way, that's good enough for me.
Mhm.
That's,
Oh,
and also, you know, I've got prickly skin, and hedgehogs are prickly and they're lovely.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
what can I say?
oh,
Yeah,
beautiful,
it's
Ali.
so sharp dogs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
something that came up in our conversation when we met before, and it was you, Conchetta, was like, how do we prepare? How do we prepare ourselves for the future? Because there's no roadmap. Would you or Lorna like to say something about that? You know, about, because I don't, well, maybe if we do start talking to ourselves in a much more beautiful and loving way, we may slow down the wrinkling or the aging process or whatever, but we don't have a roadmap and we don't know what the future holds. And I don't suppose we ever did, but I think, as you said, Conchetta, the body doesn't work quite in the same way. So we have adjustments to make.
Yeah. And for me, it's vigilance in the respect of what you were just saying, Ali, is just that I can talk better to my body, in that if something comes out, which it does naturally, it will come out, and I have identified it just recently more. It's my mother's voice.
Oh, God.
Bless her, bless her, bless her. But it is her voice saying, she, more often than not, we'd be out and about and she'd go, that woman didn't look in the mirror before she left the house. And somewhere in here that transformed into that I better be looking in the mirror. I better be looking looking at every flaw that I could pick out. The picture had to be somewhat perfect. And so when that comes up, I love this. Now I've got the penguin in my head. I can think about the penguin, that how can I turn this around? A lover of Louise Hayes and all her affirmations, and I use all of that, but I realize more so that it's I need to be more precise, or I am being more precise with turning it around. Is that when that comes out of me, like I'm looking at somebody else or at myself going, well, you really didn't brush your hair properly, did you? I can go, stop, and say something different, or pick out something that I do like, that pleases me. And I think that staying curious, I've started doing something because I do have some physical issues that create pain. And I don't do well with this all the time, but I start to get curious. Huh, what's this about? Not easy. We all know when we have pain, that's not exactly what you want to say. And then there are times too, I just let myself, another Southern phrase, I just let myself have a hissy fit. I just, you know, just let it go and say, this is unfair and I don't like this and I wish you would change. And then I go and I pull out my toolbox where I use my EFT, and I just imagine some days I won't go out of the house. I'll just be doing tapping or whatever. In some ways, that's going to be what's next. But yeah, it's a big mystery because I don't have a roadmap for this body, truly. And the women in my family died significantly early, and so I don't even have I don't have a physical.
Yeah.
Ooh, but maybe we could use AI and find out what we're all going to look like, right? Anyway, there you go, Lorna.
Thank you. I loved it because Ali sent me the penguin, and then I got to thinking that, well, yeah, penguins, they're not worried about what they look like, are they? They don't care. And
They
then
got
I,
happy feet.
happy feet. Yeah. And then I thought, and actually, our ancestors, well, way back, they wouldn't have had mirrors. They wouldn't have cared what they looked like either. You know, so I've been playing with that idea of maybe not, you know, we didn't have mirrors before. So, and everybody sees me probably differently to how I see myself. And I don't believe I really know what I look like anyway. So does it matter? No. Just to be in acceptance of how you feel, how you look every day, and it doesn't, you know, not to really bother what other people think about that. It's and to not get obsessive or overthink it myself, you know, just to be, because a lot of the time I feel better than I ever did in my 30s. You know, and I understand that. And another thing what I've been doing was, because when I went through that really deep physical pain a few years back, I learned to say, hello, you're welcome here. And when I said that, it tended to move, and it was less when I invited it in more rather than resisting it. I was like, that's pretty fantastic, you know. So when I do get a pain, my initial might be and then it's like, oh, wait a minute, I forgot, you're actually welcome here. So that was a good one for me to try and remember, you know, that's somatic movements. And
you know, that's a really good message, Lorna, you know, for all aspects of our aging process and how we feel about our body. And we've got another call. I just want to say thank you to everybody on the call for your comments, and thanks Steffi for, she's putting, the reason I keep looking down is that Steffi puts them in Messenger, so I'm looking on my phone. So we have another one from Catherine Laws, and she says, for years I have loathed and loved my body. I have scoliosis, curved spine and rib cage. I always saw this as being something inherently wrong with me as a person. However, the older and younger that I become, I love my body more. And no man has ever commented on that perceived fault. I have been adored and desired and am still. I love my hair now and let it grow longer. So isn't that interesting how we judge ourselves and assume we're being judged? Because what Catherine's saying is, it's never been mentioned by another man. Nobody has ever seen her as unattractive because of what she felt was unattractive to her. I'm just aware that we've got 7 minutes to go. All right, I'd just like to add this message as well from Debbie Mansberger. I have so much to say, but don't want to miss a bit of this scrumptious conversation.
Oh, nice.
So much, Debbie. And if I didn't pronounce your surname wrong, I'm really sorry. We just wanted to sort of finish off with, as we are older women, talking about what it's like to be older women, and Lorna, you touched on this. What message would we wish to give to our younger women? And when we will finish with a beautiful piece that Conchetta found, and if that's okay. So just if people could share, what do they think they might say to the younger women who are under an awful lot of pressure, I think, and are, like you say, Lorna, having like Botox and facelifts at 30 and 20. I saw a photograph of Meg Ryan, you know, the actress, and she started getting facelifts 20s, 30s. She's unrecognizable. It was beautiful.
one of the things that I would like to share with the younger generation is what I discovered. You know, I'd been going for years to have my facials and my waxing the lip and the, you know, those chin hairs. What is that all about? However, when I was doing my Indian head massage training and I was working and we were doing facial massage as well, I discovered that a lot of women shave.
Yes.
Yes.
And I just think, ladies, don't worry about your chin hairs. Go and get some very good shaving gel, get a brilliant razor, get rid of it. Smooth. That's my advice to the younger generation.
God, I'm so glad I didn't have. I mean, this is a bit naughty, but one's beautiful lady garden
Did you
is
think of it?
and appears to be reappearing on our faces as we get older as well. I pluck mine.
Me too.
What would I say to a younger woman? I think this was something that one of you shared as well. I mean, I would encourage, I think we need to encourage this inner beauty for women to not feel and be subjected to so much pressure, and that we could change the culture around so as that we are having these conversations with younger women. So in a way, it's like educating younger women about, just as some of the comments have said, loving themselves and loving their bodies. And so I think that's a process. However, again, I can't remember which one of the women here said, we can't teach them that. It's something you have to learn for yourself. It's your own journey, isn't it? I think we can be sharing as much as possible to have an influence. It's where the elder wisdom does come in, and where we do have a role.
Well, Ali, you mentioned your granddaughter. I think for me personally, that's where it starts now, is with the granddaughters, you know, because they're hanging around, if they're hanging around with us, we can show them a different way, maybe. Well, and hopefully they may remember that later on. Yeah. I'd love to hear what Concerta's got what you said to us. Finish up.
I think I agree that we just need to model what we're talking about. Excuse me. And leave it for them.
Right. Well, is there anything anybody would like to add? We've got 2 minutes, and as I say, Concerta has this lovely piece she's going to read, and with that, then we'll close down the call. Would Ali, Lorna, Concerta like to just say anything before we go? Do you need to get some water?
No, thank you. Thank you for this conversation. I'm just delighted that I brought it up in Synergy so that we could, you know, do some more deeper inquiry for ourselves and share what we feel about it all. And I really enjoyed it. And I hope everybody else has enjoyed listening as well.
Well, I'm looking forward to the next time the Silver Tent does one of your tent type things that you did, Gwen, where we all paint ourselves and look at ourselves. Because I'm up for it. I'm up for it.
Why not?
There's a thought. There's a thought.
Okay.
Looks like my voice held out just to the end here.
Are you okay to read that piece? Because
Yes, I am. Are we ready?
Yes.
yeah.
So this is from Donna Ashworth, and I stumbled upon this. Of course, this works like this quite often when a subject comes up, and I thought this was so appropriate. So this is what I might say to the younger generation. You will regret the years you spent berating your looks. The sooner you can make peace with the vessel your soul lives in, the better. Your body is amazing and important, but it does not define you.
Mm. Thank you so
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
much.
Thank you.
Everybody. Lorna, congratulations. You did done so well.
Yes.
Okay, bye-bye, everyone. I'm just going to stop this now. So
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Right, I've stopped it without getting rid of everybody. Oh, the recording, hold on.